It all started with a tractor and a clutch. Not the most glamorous beginning for a tale of supercars, I'll grant you. But this is the absolute truth. In one corner you had Enzo Ferrari, a man known as Il Commendatore, the commander. He was a racing driver who built a car company so he could go racing. His cars were magnificent, temperamental beasts, dripping with passion and Italian flair. He was difficult, arrogant, and utterly convinced of his own genius. He didn't really care about his customers. He only saw them as a way to fund his glorious addiction to motorsport. An engine to him was a work of art, and the rest of the car was just a necessary frame to hold it. In the other corner, you had Ferruccio Lamborghini. He was a wealthy industrialist, a self-made man who built his fortune making tractors after the Second World War. He was mechanically gifted, a proper engineer who understood how things work. He loved fast cars and, naturally, he owned a few Ferraris, but he found them a bit rubbish. They were noisy, unreliable, and the clutches were made of cheese. They were basically racing cars with number plates bolted on, which made them a nightmare to drive on actual roads. He felt they were not engineered with the same precision as his agricultural machinery, which is quite the insult when you think about it. One day, Ferruccio had enough. The clutch on his Ferrari 250 GT kept breaking. So he drove to Maranello to have a word with the great Enzo himself. He had an idea. He suggested that Enzo could use a better clutch, one similar to the ones he used in his tractors, which were far more robust. Enzo, sitting in his purple ink-stained office, was not amused. Who was this farmer, this tractor mechanic, to tell him, Enzo Ferrari, how to build a sports car? He famously told Lamborghini, "You stick to your tractors and I'll stick to my cars." This was, to put it mildly, a colossal mistake. It was the spark that lit the world's greatest automotive bonfire. Furious and insulted, Ferruccio Lamborghini stormed out. He decided then and there that he wouldn't just complain, he would do something about it. He would build his own car, a better car, a Grand Tourer that was faster, more reliable and more comfortable than any Ferrari. He had the money, he had the mechanical know-how, and now he had the motivation, pure, unadulterated spite. He set up his factory, Automobili Lamborghini, just a few miles down the road from Ferrari's headquarters. It was a declaration of war. A war fought not with guns, but with V12 engines, outrageous designs and earth-shattering speed. The story begins long before the famous argument. Ferrari was founded by Enzo in 1939 as Auto Avio Costruzioni, but the first car bearing the Ferrari name, the 125S, roared to life in 1947. The post-war era was Ferrari's playground. They dominated racetracks and began selling road cars to wealthy gentleman drivers. The 1950s and early 60s saw legends like the 250 Testarossa and the iconic 250 GTO. These cars cemented Ferrari's reputation for building machines that were as beautiful as they were victorious on the circuit. Ferrari was the undisputed king of the performance car world, a blue-blooded aristocrat with a fiery soul long before the tractor man ever dared to knock on his door. Then in 1963, the bull entered the ring. Lamborghini was officially born. Ferruccio wasted no time. His first car, the 350 GTV prototype, was unveiled that very year. It was a statement of intent. The first production car, the 350 GT, followed in 1964. It was a sophisticated Grand Tourer with a powerful V12 engine designed by Giotto Bizzarini, a man who brilliantly used to work for Ferrari. This was a direct shot at Enzo. Lamborghini was proving he could build a car that was not only fast but also comfortable and well engineered. The gauntlet had been thrown down, and the automotive world watched in awe as this upstart company challenged the established giant. The rivalry intensified through the late 60s and 70s. In 1966, Lamborghini unleashed the Miura, a car that changed everything. It was the world's first true supercar, with its V12 engine mounted in the middle. Ferrari was forced to respond, eventually creating the Berlinetta Boxer. This era was defined by wedge-shaped, outrageous designs. Lamborghini gave us the Countach in 1974, a car so ludicrous it looked like a spaceship. Ferrari answered with the 365 GT 4BB and later the Testarossa. It was a spectacular game of one-upmanship, with each brand pushing the boundaries of what a road car could be, much to the delight of schoolboys with posters on their bedroom walls. The 80s, 90s and 2000s saw both companies navigate new ownership and new challenges. Lamborghini was acquired by Audi, part of the VW Group, in 1998, bringing much-needed German engineering and financial stability. This led to modern icons like the Murcielago and the Gallardo, which became the brand's best-selling model. Ferrari, under Fiat's wing, continued its legacy with the F40, F50 and Enzo. Now, in the 2020s, both are facing the electric revolution. Ferrari has launched hybrid supercars like the SF90 Stradale, and Lamborghini has introduced the Revuelto, its first plug-in hybrid. The battlefield has changed, but the war for supercar supremacy rages on as fiercely as ever. Before the Lamborghini Miura, supercars didn't really exist, not in the way we think of them today. Then, in 1966, this thing appeared. It was jaw-dropping. It wasn't just a car, it was an event. The Miura's most revolutionary feature was its engine placement. Ferruccio's engineers, against his initial wishes, took a 3.9-litre V12 engine and mounted it transversely right behind the driver's head. This was pure race car technology, something you'd see at Le Mans, but here it was in a road car. It created a perfect weight distribution and a stunningly low, sleek profile. The Miura looked like it was moving at 200 miles per hour even when it was parked. It was the birth of the modern supercar blueprint. The Miura was more than just a technical marvel, it was a cultural icon. It was named after a famous breeder of fighting bulls, a tradition Lamborghini would continue. The car's body, designed by a young Marcello Gandini at Bertone, was impossibly beautiful and sensual. It had eyelashes around the headlights that popped up, a feature that was as impractical as it was cool. Driving one was an experience for all the senses. The roar of the V12 right behind your eardrums, the smell of hot oil and leather, and the terrifying, exhilarating speed. It was the car that made Ferrari sit up and take Lamborghini seriously. It proved the tractor maker could create not just a competitor, but a masterpiece. On the other side of this epic rivalry stands the Ferrari 250 GTO. Produced between 1962 and 1964, it is, quite simply, the holy grail of classic cars. The GTO stands for Gran Turismo Omologato, which is Italian for Grand Touring Homologated. This means it was a road car built specifically to meet the rules for racing. Only 36 were ever made. And to buy one back then, you had to be personally approved by Enzo Ferrari himself. It wasn't just a car, it was an entry ticket to an exclusive club. Today, they are the most expensive cars in the world, fetching auction prices that would make a small country blush. The 250 GTO's importance lies in its perfect fusion of form and function. It was achingly beautiful, with a curvaceous body designed by Scaglietti. But every single line and vent was there for a reason: aerodynamics and performance. Under its long bonnet was Colombo's magnificent 3.0-litre V12 engine, a masterpiece of engineering that powered the GTO to countless victories in motorsport. It won the GT World Championship 3 years in a row. It was the ultimate expression of Enzo's philosophy. A car born from racing, built for winning, and beautiful by consequence. The GTO is not just a car, it's a legend, representing the pinnacle of Ferrari's golden era. Lamborghini's design language can be summed up in one word: outrageous. And for that, we can thank one man in particular, Marcello Gandini. Working for the design house Bertone, Gandini penned some of the most dramatic and influential car shapes ever conceived. He was the master of the wedge, creating sharp, aggressive, and futuristic designs that looked like they had been sent back in time. His philosophy was to shock and awe. He wasn't interested in subtle curves or gentle lines. He wanted to create drama. The Miura was his first masterpiece, but it was the Countach that truly defined the Lamborghini look for decades to come. It was pure theatre on wheels, The Countach, and later the Diablo and Murcielago, all followed Gandini's angry, angular ethos. They were wide, low, and covered in vents and wings that screamed for attention. And let's not forget the scissor doors. First seen on his Alfa Romeo Carrubbo concept, they became a Lamborghini trademark. Opening the door on a Lamborghini wasn't just about getting in, it was an event. This design philosophy is all about aggression, power, and being the center of attention. A Lamborghini is not a car for shrinking violets. It's a car for people who want the world to know they have arrived, preferably with a lot of noise and visual spectacle. Ferrari, on the other hand, has almost always entrusted its designs to the legendary house of Pininfarina. Their approach could not be more different. Where Lamborghini shouts, Ferrari sings. Pininfarina's philosophy has traditionally been one of elegance, balance, and aerodynamic purity. Their designs are flowing, sensual, and timeless. Think of the Dino 246 GT, the Testarossa, or the 458 Italia. These cars are beautiful from every angle, with curves that seem to have been shaped by the wind itself. They possess a certain grace and sophistication that stands in stark contrast to Lamborghini's brutalist tendencies. The difference in design speaks directly to the core philosophies of the two founders. Ferruccio wanted to build a car that was a dramatic statement, a machine that would stop traffic and make a Ferrari look old-fashioned. Enzo, a man of racing, wanted cars that were aerodynamically efficient. For him, beauty was a byproduct of speed. A Pininfarina Ferrari is often described as a work of art, a moving sculpture. A Gandini Lamborghini is more like a weapon, a piece of hostile architecture designed to conquer the road. One is a rapier, the other a broadsword. Both are brilliant, but they come from completely different worlds. When you talk about racing, you are, for the most part, talking about Ferrari. Motorsport is not just part of Ferrari's business, it is the entire reason for its existence. Enzo Ferrari was a racing driver first and a car manufacturer second. He sold road cars so that he could pour money into his beloved Scuderia Ferrari, the racing division. From the very beginning, his cars were built to win, and win they did. In the world of sports car racing, marques like Porsche and Ford have had their moments of glory. But Ferrari has been a constant, dominant force for over 70 years, winning legendary races like the 24 Hours of Le Mans and the Mille Miglia time and time again. Nowhere is this dominance more apparent than in Formula One. Scuderia Ferrari is the oldest and most successful team in the history of the sport. It is the only team to have competed in every single season since the championship began in 1950. The Tifosi, the passionate Italian fans of Ferrari, are famous worldwide for their unwavering, almost religious devotion to the team. The red cars from Maranello are synonymous with F1, having produced legendary champions like Alberto Ascari, Niki Lauda, and of course the great Michael Schumacher, who won 5 consecutive titles with the team. For Ferrari, racing is its lifeblood, its identity, and its most powerful marketing tool. Lamborghini's approach to racing, however, has been completely different, and it all comes from the founder. Ferruccio Lamborghini had a strict no-racing policy. He had seen too many friends die in motorsport, and he believed the pursuit of racing glory was a massive drain on resources. He wanted to focus all his company's energy on building the best possible road cars. This is a fundamental difference between the two brands. While Enzo was obsessed with lap times and checkered flags, Ferruccio was obsessed with creating the ultimate Grand Tourer. He believed his cars could prove their superiority on the open road, not on a closed circuit. Despite Ferruccio's initial ban, Lamborghini has dabbled in motorsport over the years, especially after he sold the company. They supplied engines to F1 teams in the late 80s and early 90s, though with very little success. More recently, under Audi's ownership, Lamborghini has found its footing in GT racing with its Super Trofeo One-Make series, and by competing successfully with the Huracan GT3 in championships around the world. But it has never had, and probably never will have, the all-consuming passion for racing that defines its rival. For Lamborghini, racing is a marketing activity. For Ferrari, it is the reason to be. The rivalry between Lamborghini and Ferrari has always been, honestly, a powerful engine for technological progress. Both companies have constantly tried to outdo each other, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in a car. From the very beginning, the V12 engine was the weapon of choice. Ferrari's Colombo 512 was a small displacement marvel, a screaming, high-revving masterpiece born from racing. Lamborghini, on the other hand, actually commissioned Giotto Bizzarini to create a new V12 from scratch. The result was a larger, more powerful quad-cam engine that was, in many ways, more advanced than Ferrari's at the time. This engine became the heart of every flagship Lamborghini for nearly 50 years. One of the most significant battlegrounds was the layout of the car. For years, high-performance cars had their engines in the front. Then Lamborghini dropped a bombshell with the Miura in 1966. Placing the V12 engine in the middle of the car, just behind the driver, was a radical move for a road car. It was a layout used by top-tier racing cars to achieve better balance and handling. Ferrari, stubborn and proud, insisted that a true road car had its engine in the front. It took them years to admit Lamborghini was right. They finally conceded with the Berlinetta Boxer in 1973, and the mid-engine layout has defined most of their top supercars ever since. Innovation wasn't just about engines and where to put them. The 1980s saw the rise of turbocharging and advanced materials. Ferrari stunned the world with the F40 in 1987. It was a raw, visceral machine built to celebrate the company's 40th anniversary. It made extensive use of composite materials like Kevlar and carbon fiber for its body panels to save weight, and its V8 engine was boosted by two massive turbochargers. The F40 was a brutal, uncompromising car that delivered sledgehammer performance. Lamborghini, sticking to its naturally aspirated V12s, focused on other areas, like being one of the first to offer a four-wheel drive system in a supercar with the 1993 Diablo VT, taming its incredible power. This technological arms race continues today, but the battlefield has shifted. Now the focus is on hybrid systems, advanced aerodynamics, and sophisticated electronics. Ferrari's SF90 Stradale combines a twin-turbo V8 with 3 electric motors to produce a staggering 986 horsepower. It uses electricity not just for efficiency, but for mind-bending acceleration and torque vectoring. Lamborghini has responded with the Revuelto, its first plug-in hybrid. It pairs a brand new V12 engine with electric motors to create over 1,000 horsepower. The technology is more complex than ever, but the goal remains the same: to be faster, more powerful, and more exciting than the other guy down the road. One of the best stories from the early days involves the legendary Lamborghini test driver Bob Wallace. He was a quiet New Zealander with immense talent behind the wheel. During the development of the Miura, Ferruccio was adamant that his company would not go racing. But Wallace and his engineering colleagues had other ideas. In their spare time, secretly, they built a modified, stripped-out, race-ready version of the Miura. They called it the Jota. It was a one-off experimental car, lighter and far more powerful than the standard model. It was Lamborghini's unofficial, unspoken entry into the world of high-performance development, a skunkworks project hidden from the boss. Another fascinating tale comes from the Ferrari camp, highlighting Enzo's unique and often ruthless management style. During the development of a new racing engine, his engineers would sometimes be split into 2 competing teams. He would give them the same task, pitting them against each other in a fierce internal competition. He believed this pressure would extract the best work from them, forcing them to push beyond their limits. The team that produced the better design would be rewarded, while the other might face his infamous wrath. It was a brutal but effective way to foster innovation, a method that perfectly reflected the cutthroat world of motorsport he so dearly loved. The story of the Lamborghini Countach's name is also brilliant. Most Lamborghinis are named after famous fighting bulls. The Countach is the exception. The name comes from a word in the Piedmontese dialect, an expression of astonishment, something like "wow" or "good heavens." As the story goes, when a worker at the Bertone factory first saw the finished prototype of the car, he was so stunned by its outrageous shape that he exclaimed, "Countach!" Marcello Gandini, the designer, overheard him and thought it was the perfect name for such a shocking car. It captures the essence of the car perfectly. It's a machine designed to provoke a reaction of pure, unfiltered amazement. There's also the story of how Frank Sinatra supposedly influenced Ferruccio Lamborghini. The famous singer was a big car enthusiast and owned many exotic models, including a Miura. He famously said, "You buy a Ferrari when you want to be somebody. You buy a Lamborghini when you are somebody." This quote, whether he actually said it or not, perfectly captured the image Ferruccio wanted for his brand. Ferrari was for the flashy show-offs, the new money. Lamborghini was for the confident, established connoisseur who didn't need the validation of a racing pedigree. It was a subtle, sophisticated dig at his rival, and it became a powerful part of the Lamborghini mythos. The age of silent speed is upon us, and even these two titans of the internal combustion engine have had to adapt. The shift to electric and hybrid power is the biggest challenge these brands have ever faced. For companies built on the sound and fury of V12 engines, how do you create excitement without the noise? Ferrari has been the first to dive headfirst into the hybrid pool. They began experimenting with hybrid tech in Formula One and brought it to the road with the LaFerrari hypercar in 2013. This was a mild hybrid system, designed purely for performance, but their first proper plug-in hybrid was the SF90 Stradale. The SF90 Stradale is an absolute monster. It combines a twin-turbo V8 engine with 3 electric motors. 2 of those motors are on the front axle, making it the first ever all-wheel drive mid-engine Ferrari. The result is nearly 1,000 horsepower and acceleration that can rearrange your internal organs. It can even drive in complete silence on pure electric power for a few miles, which is a very strange experience in a Ferrari. They've also launched the 296 GTB, a V6 plug-in hybrid. Ferrari is showing that they can use hybrid technology not as a compromise, but as a new weapon in the performance arms race, adding power and capability that a petrol engine alone could never achieve. Lamborghini, true to form, has taken a slightly more cautious and dramatic approach. For years, they insisted on the purity of their naturally aspirated V12 engines. They saw electrification as a threat to the soul of their brand. But even the raging bull has to bow to regulations and progress. Their first step was the Sian, a limited edition hypercar that used a supercapacitor instead of a traditional battery for a small hybrid boost. It was a typically flamboyant and unique Lamborghini solution, but their big move is the Revuelto, the successor to the Aventador and the company's first ever series production plug-in hybrid. The Revuelto is pure Lamborghini madness, electrified. It keeps a glorious, brand new, naturally aspirated V12 engine at its heart, because a flagship Lambo without 12 cylinders is unthinkable. But it pairs this engine with 3 electric motors, giving it a combined output of over 1,000 horsepower and 4-wheel drive. Lamborghini is framing this move not as giving up, but as adding to the experience. The electric motors fill in the gaps in the V12's power delivery, making it even more responsive and violent. They are trying to prove that a hybrid Lamborghini can be even more of a Lamborghini than ever before. The battle has gone electric, but the rivalry is as loud as ever. Enzo Ferrari was a complex and formidable man. He was known as Il Commendatore, but also as the Dragon. He lived and breathed motorsport. His passion was singular and all-consuming. He was often described as cold, remote, and manipulative, a man who played his drivers and engineers against each other. He rarely attended races in his later years, preferring to stay in Maranello, listening to the results over the phone. He wore his signature dark sunglasses indoors and out, creating a barrier between himself and the world. His personal life was marked by tragedy, particularly the death of his beloved son Dino, which hardened him even further. Enzo's leadership was dictatorial. The company was his personal fiefdom. He famously said, "The client is not always right," believing he knew what was best. His legacy is etched onto every racetrack in the world. He created more than just a car company. He created a myth, a religion in red. The prancing horse logo is one of the most recognized symbols on Earth, representing victory, passion, and Italian pride. His singular vision, his ruthless pursuit of excellence on the track, is what forged Ferrari into the legend it is today. He wasn't building cars, he was building monuments to speed, and his legacy is a global empire built on the foundations of racing glory. Ferruccio Lamborghini was a very different character. He was a wealthy, successful businessman before he ever thought about building a car. He was an engineer at heart, a man who understood mechanics and cared about quality. Where Enzo was aloof and aristocratic, Ferruccio was more down to earth, a charismatic and energetic leader who enjoyed the finer things in life. He was driven not by racing pedigree, but by a desire to build the ultimate road car, a machine that was technically superior, more comfortable, and more reliable than a Ferrari. He wanted to create a perfect car, not just a fast one. Ferruccio's leadership was more hands-on and entrepreneurial. He personally recruited the best young talent to bring his vision to life. His legacy is one of rebellion and audacious innovation. He was the underdog who dared to challenge the king and in doing so, created the entire supercar category as we know it. The Raging Bull symbol, his own star sign, perfectly represents his brand's DNA, powerful, untamable, and defiant. While he sold the company in the 1970s and retired to his vineyard, his spirit lives on. His legacy is the proof that one person's passion and frustration can change an entire industry, creating an empire built on the desire for something more extreme and more perfect.